Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. So this evening is the what's called Asalha Puja, and it's a traditional festival day in Buddhist in the Buddhist calendar. It's the full moon of July, and it's considered the day that the Buddha gave his first teaching to the five ascetics near Benares in the Deer Park. And the chant that we did is the actual teaching that was given that day, and it's the first time that the Buddha lays out his vision of the truths that he saw and penetrated, and the possibility of those truths in terms of the leading to awakening, leading to nibbana, and the path to realize those truths, and the aspect of this middle way, a middle way of teaching, a middle way of practice. It's extremely important discourse, and if you don't know anything else about Buddhism, you'll be fine. Really, that's enough. In reality, the 45 years of the Buddha's teachings after that are mainly, adjuncts or supports or variations on a theme of exploration of those fundamental truths that the Buddha taught, and they relying on the Four Noble Truths and extrapolations from them. But that's really the essence of it, the foundation of it, and it's that's why they say, like Sariputta gives the image of these Four Noble Truths and the teaching on the Four Noble Truths as with the simile of the elephant's footprint, in that in the same way that all footprints of any animal will fit into the footprint of an elephant, the same way that all of the various teachings that are given or possible fit into that footprint or the template of the Four Noble Truths. So it's a teaching worthy of exploration, of constant reflection and investigation. As we and when the Buddha gives these as truths or four noble, they're noble truths. They're tools for contemplation, or they're tools for putting into practice. Say, as opposed to some kind of declaration of ultimate truth of some sort that you carve into stone, or that you end up fighting over and upholding in some way. It's that's a lot of dukkha. But the sense of these are teachings to be relied upon. And also, say, like Sariputta, there's in a discourse on right view, one of the first ways that Sariputta gives as a basis for establishing right view is the contemplation of the Four Noble Truths. So these Four Noble Truths are and the middle way are really ways of investigating, ways of practicing, ways of training oneself how to view our experience. Our habit of how we experience things is to view it in the perspective of self, kind of self and other, or in terms of the world, in that sense of becoming object that we are seeking interest, fascination, gratification from, or that we're running away from, getting averse to, getting confused by, and it's all in terms of world, a world that is either an object of attraction or aversion, and a sense of self that we're trying to either assuming solidity with, or assuming a fundamental reality. This is me. This is who I am. This is what I am. This is mine. So the whole realm of self as a basis of creating identity and having a certain, say, possessing a place within the world. So that all of that is dukkha. This is in terms of so that the when the Buddha points to these Four Noble Truths of, say, dukkha in terms of suffering, stress, discontent, dissatisfaction, dis-ease, that as long as we're trying to either prop up a self, change ourself, improve ourself, negate ourself, we're creating problems. It's a burden. And similarly, when the mind or our attention keeps going out to the world as something to chase after or run away from, or we get confused by and uncertain about, we're off balance. We don't have an anchor. We don't have a foundation. But these Four Noble Truths are a teaching to give us an anchor in terms of experiential. We can view things from the perspective of this is an experience. There is this experience of dukkha. There is a cause for it. There is an experience, or can be an experience of cessation of dukkha, of peace, of knowledge, of understanding, of awakening, of liberation. There is this possibility as an experience, and there's a cause for that. There is a path that we can direct our attention and our energies towards. We can't own it. That would be trying to make the path or the experience of cessation of dukkha, trying to make that a self, or trying to chase after it as something. Oh, it's over there. I want to get that. That's sort of moving it into the realm of world again. There is a balance. There is a middle way of experiencing. There is a middle way of practicing and training ourselves. So there's a certain subtlety there that we have to really reflect on and investigate with. It's one of the reasons why, when the Buddha was first awakened, first enlightened, his inclination was to not teach. He said, "This is too subtle. This is too. Nobody will understand this. People are far too caught up in delusion. I'll just make myself tired and perplexed. Why bother?" But of course, that inclination didn't last. The Buddha's compassion arose. I mean, it was part of a natural part of the arising of insight and penetration, is that compassion is part and parcel of that. It's not far away. And so that compassion led to the willingness to teach. And of course, that's the articulating of what he experienced, and the encouragement that this is something that we can all experience as well. We all experience dukkha. We all experience the cause of dukkha. We all have the capacity to experience a cessation of dukkha. And we can all cultivate, put into practice the factors of the path that will take us to the cessation of dukkha. It's not something that is beyond anybody's capability, but it does require, say, that right view, that right intention. The path factors need to be brought into being. When we reflect on what the Buddha, what the essence of the Buddha's teaching on the Four Noble Truths points. I mean, there's many ways to express it or to speak about it, but I think that recognition that what the Buddha was pointing to is and what these Four Noble Truths are about is this aspect of in terms of a teaching and a middle way of viewing things, a middle way of practicing, is that there is this cause and effect, relationships. All things are, say, arise and cease within a causal process, but not causal process in the sense of linear cause, but cause and condition. And that's a bit different in the sense that oftentimes we think in terms of linear ways of there's I do this and that effect arises, and it's all sort of, it's very clear, very linear, but that isn't really how it works. There's causes and conditions, and then and that makes it more complex, and we have to be much more circumspect and reflective in understanding, because it's it is the ramifications of this cause and condition process is sometimes hard to see through. It's important to recognize, there are these causes and conditions, and it works both in terms of positive ways, and it works in negative ways as well. So there's this process of cause and condition, and there's a sense of skillful, unskillful, wholesome, unwholesome, pleasant, unpleasant, in a sense of, say, like in those Four Noble Truths, there's dukkha, there's the cause of dukkha, and those are say, on the unskillful side of things, on the unwholesome, on the say, the unwanted, but we have to understand that. What are the things that contribute to this say, unpleasant experience of dukkha and all of its constellation of expression? But then there's the positive, the skillful, the wholesome aspect of the path leading to cessation of dukkha, and the cessation of dukkha. That's something that is wholly and completely skillful, wholesome, beneficial, desirable, and it is interesting that they say when the Buddha speaks of the path, there is these teachings on dukkha, but then the path leading to cessation of dukkha is completely and wholly pleasant and bringing happiness and well-being, bringing peace and clarity. That all the aspects of the right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. All of these are in terms as phenomena, they are they're settling. They bring up a sense of happiness and ease and well-being. So that there is this cause and condition aspect. There is skillful, unskillful, wholesome, unwholesome. That's a sort of viewing experience from those perspectives, and then looking at again this recognizing that there is there's more complexity to the causal process or the conditioning process than we tend to expect or consider. It's like when just recently I was in Washington D.C. and there's we went to a museum, one of the art museums in D.C. Very, it's a National Museum of the Arts, and there was a docent there who took us around and explained the different art pieces, and there was a art that was say of really the beginnings of the Renaissance painters and of course much of the painting is around religious themes and kind of a kind of struggle of good and evil, and the saints, and of course the depictions of it. And then he started talking about the because that in terms of culturally or in parts of Western European society, then it also some of this spawned the persecution of witches and this fear of evil, and then part of this persecution of witches and trying to prevent evil. Cats were considered kind of the kind of helpers of the witches, therefore helpers of Satan. So cats were persecuted. Not persecuted, they're wiped out. That's what they're doing. So then you think, okay, we'll rid the world of evil and get rid of these cats as well. And then about the same time, these rats show up from Asia, and this is that's the start of the plagues. There's great plagues. There weren't the cats around to deal with the rats, and then there's these plagues. This beginning of the plagues that spread through Europe and wiped out huge portions of population. This cause and condition. It's not on a causal process. You think, well, okay, that seems like a good idea, but there's these untoward effects that are part of it, and if you're not willing to reflect on how things tie together and how then you end up missing pieces and don't really, not able to hold the big picture. And this is why it's so important, say, in Buddhist practice, that we have to stop and look and watch and be attentive and alert and be present, because it's what is sort of like, yes, the cessation of dukkha is our goal, but a habit of the mind is to create these dichotomies of self and other, world, and we have to be willing to step back and drop that sense of self and come back into a place of knowing, of awareness, of being present with the one who knows. And this is why the great teachers in the Forest tradition put so much emphasis on this quality of being the one who knows. Because it isn't the tendency of the mind is to, I want to know something, and I want to be something too, or I want to get rid of something. But to be able to release around that impulse, that habit, and come back to the quality of awareness, of knowing, of clarity, and then the experience starts to unfold. And one is able to start to see, okay, there is this experience of dukkha, of discontent, dis-ease. And you start to feel, it's not just intellectually analyzing and trying to get a linear take on it, but it's more like, what's the movement and what's the impulse that, in terms of cause, that takes me to this place of dis-ease. And yes, we have to use a certain amount of analysis or a sense of parsing things out a bit. But what's more important is coming back to this quality of knowing and awareness and feeling, what are those impulses? What are those causes and conditions that keep bringing me to a place of discontent? And in the same way, there are these, and that's what the templates of the Four Noble Truths is, both in terms of dukkha and cessation of dukkha. What are the templates that support us in that aspiration? Because it's quite natural to desire a cessation of dukkha, a cessation of dis-ease and discontent. But to be willing to have that, there's a certain patience that's needed in order to stay with awareness, to stay with, to rest in the knowing, and that's a skill that we have to cultivate and experiment with, and start to recognize, how does that work? How does it work? It isn't just a matter of, say the path being sila, samadhi, panya, virtue, meditation, wisdom. There's an integrity of virtue or virtuous perspective that is needed to apply, because it isn't sort of dividing it up into good and evil, and if I'm just good, then I'll be okay. It's more how to have that balance and not create a sense of self and other around it, recognizing these patterns of cause and condition. So there's a subtlety that's needed, and an ease that comes within that, and peace and clarity that comes in the mind when we're able to hold that, allow it to be held, and realize that once we start functioning from that place, everything becomes peaceful. Everything becomes Dhamma. It's sort of like Ajahn Chah saying. Dhamma is all around us. Truth is all around us. Everything is teaching us. And so but it requires this quality of being willing to resist that impulse to move into that I-making, mind-making, underlying tendencies to conceit, in the sense of that buying into a sense of separate self and a separate world out there. A sense of paying attention to the quality of experience in terms of dukkha, cessation of dukkha. So it's a different perspective, and the key to it is this establishing this sense of knowing, of awareness, of being the one who knows, this quality of Buddho. In Thai, it's a Pulu Putu in Pupakban, so being the one who knows, being one who's awakened, one who is radiant within. So those are qualities that are within us, and it's so easy to overlook it. Try to be something, try to get rid of something, try to become, try to annihilate, and that process keeps keeps rolling on if we don't see clearly. So it's interesting, like, and when in this sutta that the Buddha has given, the Dhammacakka Sutta, in giving the teachings, then the first disciple sees and understands the teachings and is established in the fruits of stream entry, or the first level of awakening, enlightenment, and the Buddha articulates what's the essence of that insight that transforms one from the run-of-the-mill, unenlightened being, putujana, to one who has noble insight. And in the Pali, it's yang kinchi samudaya dhammang sambandhang nirodham. Whatever has the nature to arise, that has the nature to cease. And on a certain level, you think, I already knew that. But it's when we're able to see and to work from that insight, so that whatever whatever is arising is, in a certain sense, is already ceasing. Whatever these are inextricably bound up, and they're not separate phenomena. But there is this process that's going on. So then you start to see, rather than sort of getting caught in the discrete and separate experiences that we tend to do, it's that arising and ceasing is we're looking at it in terms of phenomena, looking at it in terms of experience, looking at it in terms of this is and this, again, it's this causes and conditions. They're not. It's not just sort of random arising and see. There's a causal conditioning process that we can see and understand and have an acceptance with. Like Lopasa Meadows' refrain is always, it's like this. That's because the tendency is it shouldn't be this way, or why isn't it some other way? But to be able to have the awareness and the clarity and the stability of just being in the one who knows and say, it's like this. And that you can hold anything with that perspective. That quality of knowing isn't shaken, isn't complicating things, isn't making a problem. It's like this. You can take an interest, you can deal with it. It's like this. And you always have the opportunity to be this quality of knowing, being the one who knows. So that there's this reflection on the Four Noble Truths, the reflection on this teaching that the Buddha gives. What he's doing is giving us the tools to awaken, giving us the tools to liberate the heart, giving us the tools to free ourselves from dukkha, that to, especially on, say, today, it's a recognition and commemoration of that day, to pick up these fundamental teachings and to encourage oneself to penetrate them, to rely on them, not out of desperation or duty, but recognizing that these are tools that will give us the opportunity to free our hearts from dukkha. I'll offer that for reflection this evening.